Hey kids, welcome back for episode 2 of Awesome Stuff Badly, the podcast where a trained computer industry professional makes a complete fool of himself to show that it doesn't take, I don't know what it does take to succeed. Frankly, uh, we're going to find that out along the way together. Okay, so today, as you may recall, in our first episode, we created a little prototype called Rohan's Teenage Robot Turtles using a tool called ProtoShare. Now, the design is really very simple. There's not a whole lot to it. It was just kind of a way to get a sense for what things could look like and how things will fit on the page. And if we make the main area really big, how will it look? But the real magic of the website will be the code that goes behind the scenes to make the turtles actually behave themselves. Now, that's a pretty complicated process, and most of what we'll be doing. And the way you handle something really complicated like that is breaking it down into small pieces. Now we're using a language called JavaScript. JavaScript runs most of the web on the front end. That means that the things that you see moving around on a screen on a web page were created using JavaScript. Now, it used to be that we used very different languages on the back end, on the servers off on the cloud or the internet that would create those pages that they would send to your computers. But now we're using JavaScript all over the place. And what we're going to do is practice using JavaScript using a tool called JSFiddle. So let's go here to jsfiddle.net, and I'm going to log in to the account I created with JSFiddle. See, I got an account here. Let's save that here for use next time. And here we've got something I created which is called a boilerplate. A boilerplate or a template is something that's created to give you a starting point. Looking at a blank screen can be kind of scary the first time you're building something. So it's always nice to have a template or a boilerplate to give you something to work with and build on top of. So we'll use this boilerplate fiddle for Reactive-Coffee. Now, those of you who know JavaScript know this doesn't look exactly like JavaScript. This is a version or dialect of JavaScript called CoffeeScript. It's a little bit easier to read, and I like it a lot. Lots of people do too. It's pretty easy to find on the internet. We're using a specific tool called Reactive-Coffee. And Reactive-Coffee is a way to organize the information so you can update it easily. We may talk more about that later in future updates. But for example, I can just go in here and type a name, I click a button, and it changes it over there. And the code to do that is really simple. I create a reactive cell that has that information here, and I use that same reactive cell over here. So when I change it using this button, it shows up over there. Not really complicated, but some systems it gets really painful to do even something as simple as that. And Reactive-Coffee lets you focus a little bit more on what I actually want to do. So one of the things I've been trying to do is want to draw pictures rather than just doing words. And the web and the HTML, the language used for web pages, was really designed originally for the creating words because it was a document format and people thought of documents mostly as words. Then they added image tags and then they added a bunch of other things that made it much more the rich, interactive, visually appealing web we know today. And so what I'm going to try and do today in the next 30 minutes is see if I can build a graphical tool using this Reactive-Coffee baseline. And this is kind of hard, but fortunately someone else has done a lot of the work for me. So going to the magical place called the internet, we're going to go to the Reactive-Coffee website. It's created by a guy whose username is Yang. I actually don't know what his real name is. So I go here, and I was going to ask him, I have an issue with the framework in that the framework doesn't have it's really good for building HTML textual pages, but it's not so good for building graphical objects. And there's a tool called SVG that was added to HTML as a way to represent graphics. And fortunately, someone else had this problem just about a year ago. His username is Eisenberg, and he created what's called a gist, a little tiny code snippet that shows how to do something. So my task for this next half hour is to figure out how to take that gist and add it to my fiddle and see if I can make it draw a picture. I have no idea if this will take 30 seconds or if I'm going to fail completely. That's part of doing awesome stuff badly. Okay. Here is a series of CoffeeScript which builds on top of the RX functions created by Reactive-Coffee, and then adds an RxV, which is the behavior for reactive vector graphics. So it defines a bunch of events, attributes, and then for those events, it adds listeners, it sets properties on those elements, and then it makes tags. Tags are the basic items of working with HTML. You may have heard, if you know anything about web programming, about anchor tags or link tags or paragraph tags. In SVG and RxV, this version here, those are the things that we write little CoffeeScript snippets to create. One of the philosophies of the Swan Factory is to optimize for dumb luck and smart failure. So first we'll just try the dumb luck approach and see if we just paste this in here. Let's just see what happens. And see if it even compiles a bunch of code. And so then let's update. Okay, it didn't blow up and crash the browser, which is something. And then I need to figure out how to actually do something with that text. Okay, so let's see if we can add a SVG tag. I remember that that was one of the pieces of magic that we were trying to add. Oh, I know what we should have done. Let's go back to our original boilerplate fiddle. I'm going to throw this all away. That's okay. So here's our original fiddle. We want to fork this fiddle, which is to create a new version. And let's see what the fiddle options are. Here we go. This is going to be an SVG fiddle for Reactive-Coffee. And we will link back to the gist that we grabbed this from, and maybe try to get the gist from issue where is my fiddle? Where is that? Issue 14. Grab that URL to implement the gist from issue 14. And that's all we need to say about that for now. And so the this is the SVG fiddle here, right? And then what we want to do is go to our original fiddle, which should be over there, which is different. And let's just take the first part of this and paste it in here. Oh, wait a second. First, we haven't updated our thing here. Let's try updating this first. So that's SVG fiddle. Okay, see our name here has changed. That's good. Then we'll grab this boilerplate fiddle here and just wholesale paste it in there and see if it still runs. This is awesome. And no, it does not. So whatever we were doing up here made this stuff below hand not work anymore. So okay, that's the first thing to taste to see what breaks when you do something new and different. So that was there. Let's see if we can merge the preambles here, if that helps. These are the same here. If we update this. Okay, there we go. We have successfully, and it helpfully gives us a little 3 up here to show that each time we save it, it adds a different version. So we've managed to import the SVG stuff. and not break the rest of Reactive-Coffee. That's a good first sign. First, see that your new stuff doesn't break anything. And then let's remove some of these pieces here to get our boilerplate down to something even simpler. Uh, let's just get a list of items there and keep that and see if that's the right balancing of parentheses. It should just be there. Let's try updating that. Okay, yes, it's the title. Now, this is our actual part we're working for, our main view here. So what we want to do is add an SVG tag there. And when in doubt, we're just going to copy exactly what's in the spaces above it. And let's just update that and see what happens. Now I can't see very much, but if we're really lucky, we'll be able to look inside the web page and see that there is a SVG tag there. Okay, we have successfully created an SVG tag. Not very impressive, but we're doing awesome stuff badly. Okay, so the next step is to actually write some real SVGs. So we need an SVG. I was looking at SVG animations earlier. As I recall, there were some really cool tutorials on SVG. Let's see if I have them in my reading list here. I don't have a reading list here. Okay. Let's try this guy, Jenkov. He seems like he knows something about SVG. Ah, yeah, this is the one I looked at before. So here is his animated SVG. So let's try this rectangle. And we're going to take that. Actually, let's show even in simpler SVG examples. Basic shapes. Is there a code for this somewhere? Let's do the one here. Okay, here we go. This is a rectangle. This is the first big step forward, is to do actually drawing something. Of course, now this is the raw HTML. What we're going to do is come up with the Reactive-Coffee version of that using JavaScript code, and this may seem kind of pointless to be so perverse as to rewrite perfectly good HTML in JavaScript, but the reason is this way we can put it in code, and once it's in code, you can do all sorts of cool stuff with it, including hopefully creating our turtles. I think we need a quotes around these things. Okay, let's just grab that directly. One of the other nice bits about using CoffeeScript is that you can use actual dictionaries rather than just blank strings for filling in these pieces here. Okay, so that's the same information represented as a CoffeeScript dictionary and tag. Let's just try it and see if we get lucky. Initializing the opsum, and it's not happy. Okay, there can be many reasons it's not happy, but we at least know it's probably here, since before that everything worked fine. Let's first try and see if we just do this here. Oh, there's a few too many brackets there, huh? Okay, this is clearly not working. Let's go back to 5. Let's set this as our base, since that was the version that last actually worked. And Now let's look at our code way down here under SVG. Okay, what we want to do is, oh, silly me, we actually have some information here we weren't using, which is this thing called the web inspector, which actually lets you run JavaScript in place. So let's just try running that, and we get an error message. There's no SVG variable known as rect. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out what that was supposed to be called. So we know that it has a SVG. No, it should have a rect tag. Why does it not have a rect tag? Maybe we need an RxV? Let's try it and see. Why not? Something interesting is happening here. Let's see. Let's see if we can find something useful here. So if we type SVG, we can't type into our... Okay, we have an RxV object. That's a good sign. There's an SVG object, which is a... generates the SVG tag. Okay, we know that. Is there a rect object? No. Is there an svg.rect? No. Is there an rxv.rect? So what does rxv have underneath it? Let's see. It's an object which has the make tag thing. grect. Huh. Is it rxv.tags? That's encouraging. Let's just try running that and see what happens. Oh, it's getting a unknown element type. So let's go back here then to our debugger and let's see. So this thing runs is a big fancy command which generates a rect tag. So this should, when we add that, maybe because we were using braces instead of parentheses. Let's just try running that. Oops. Okay, what's the error this time, my friend? Xv.tags.rect parentheses. Where's my errors? Oh. Okay, that was just weird. Let's just go back. That works. So it's just... let's just run this like this. Nothing's happening. And the mainframe we can't do it, but in the result display can. So there's something there that can do this. But if we run it now, we get the error, an element type an array undefined. So I have no idea what that means. Okay then, let's see here. We know that there is an rxv.tags thing here. Now, the rxv tags has these make tag things happening here. So we have all the code we're working with here, which is great. So it's all sitting here. Let's try this rxv import tags thing and see if that makes any difference. Oh, accomplished something. And let's check our inspector here. Okay, that's the... And there's a rect tag there. Woohoo! We're getting close. Getting really, really close. Now, next we want to add some parameters to that. So how do we do that? Let's try it here first. See if we add a dictionary here. Run it. That doesn't mess things up. So let's try x10, y20. Okay, that's not coming up through. Let's see, are we even getting a tag there? Okay. Ah, I think I know what's going on here. I bet you that the SVG tag there is not an RxV tag. Let's just see what happens if we remove this, just to see if that makes any difference. Okay, it doesn't seem like we've managed the import tags bit there. So, but our SVG, now we notice it's different than it looks like in the picture here. Here's a way we can test this. Let's see. If we grab this code here, put it in our fiddle. I've never tried putting anything in both pieces here. Let's just run it and see what happens. So it runs that code there and again here, so we can compare it directly and see. So for example, if we don't have all this fancy namespacing stuff here, and we run it, it still works perfectly. Oh, that's position but no distance. So let's just try adding those stuff in here now. Height 100, width 100, run. Boom, 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 boom! Yay! We've got SVG on a web page. So let's update. And wow, I'm so excited. We've got SVG on a web page. I know I could have done this with, and in fact did do it with 3 lines of HTML. But this, you see, in this project I'm doing, there's a whole bunch of different steps. And some things I've done before, and I know how easy or hard there are. Other things I've never done before. I don't know if they're going to be trivial or incredibly painful. So one of the things was I found this wonderful Reactive-Coffee framework, but it didn't do SVG. And I was sure if I could do SVG, then building it up from there was easy, but I wasn't sure how hard it would be to integrate this just from a long time ago with this framework. And the fact that I actually got it running makes me very, very happy because that takes away one of my major risk factors. And in fact, now I can go through and remove a lot of the boilerplate stuff I don't need and just start playing with the SVG. So I can get rid of the, well, let me keep the data model there because we may want to use that for something else. I can get rid of this. Well, yeah, let's leave it there for now. And we were going to set this as the base. So actually commit that as next time someone else comes here, they'll see these pieces here. Let me just include a link to that just because it's always good to give plenty of citations for anything you use from anybody else on the internet. Events click. It also raises the interesting question, if I have all this, then it's doing rect text G. Can I add ellipse circle, comma, polyline. What are the other items there? Polyline, polygon, line. And once I get this actually working properly, one of the things I should do is actually close out that issue and add this back into the baseline version of Reactive-Coffee so that everyone else can use it without having all the concerns and risk. And then also create a real written tutorial. But again, one thing at a time, since I only have 4 minutes left for this episode, gotta do what I can now. So I'll just try running this, making sure I haven't messed anything up. And then lastly, I will go ahead and do some coloring. So we will do a fill of, let's see, can we just do OX, FF? Nope, that doesn't seem to help very much, does it? Let's do the same thing we had before then. There's no X. Just be sharp. There we go. And let's make this a little bit more readable. I wonder if we actually need the parentheses now. Let's see if it lets us get away without it. There we go. And then even more classy, we can break this out in multiple lines. So far, so good. RGB. It looks kind of funky. Let's do it the other way around. Might be a little cleaner. Yay! And there you have it. We have a reactive SVG. Oh, let's go for this. Let's go for our animation example here. Oh, this would be so cool if this worked. Where we add an animate transform. First, where are we here? Yeah, JSFiddle. And then the last tag that we have to add here is animate transform. And that's going to be a child of that match the indentation. Yes, indentation is very useful for making sure you're closing your parentheses properly. And we have a little dictionary thingamajabber here again. And let's just copy in all these attributes here and dictionarify them. Yes, it is annoying that different formats use very different conventions for how they express a dictionary, whether they use names and colons or strings or all these things. CoffeeScript is better than most, but it's still a little awkward at times. And let's just run this and see what happens. And oh, 15 errors. Ah! look. Too many errors. Let's try without this first, just to make sure that I haven't broken something accidental that I'd forgotten. And oh yes, maybe I have broken something accidental that I've forgotten. Let's just reset this from here. Okay. Okay, that thing was there. I had not saved it fair. That's not good. Let's see. Let's see if the colors work here for this. Okay, let's update there. And then get rid of those. Let's add back animate transform here. Clearly I should have done a better job of saving my work. Not a big deal here, but in the real world, definitely important to always save everything after you make sure you get something working. Oops, I am out of time and I need to keep to this. So I will just see if I can save this here and leave that as the cliffhanger for next episode. Will it or won't it animate? Okay, whatever this is here, it's not breaking it. So we will save it like it is here and set this as our base and pick it up next time. Thank you all for another episode of Awesome Stuff Badly. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.